Welcome to the Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley from Variety. Before we speak to our guest today, I want to let you know that the Foundation has set up a COVID relief fund in order to support thousands of union performers who are going through tough times. Since March, thanks to your donations, the Foundation has given over $6.1 million in emergency aid to more than 6,000 performers and their families. If you are a SAG-AFTRA member and you need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest. He is a SAG Award nominee for his work on The Queen's Gambit. Odds are he's appeared in at least one of your favorite films. Please welcome Bill Camp. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Jenelle. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so thrilled to talk to you because you're one of those actors that seems to have sprung fully formed, born as a great actor that everyone is such a fan of. And I'm so thrilled to see your work on The Queen's Gambit recognized.
Thanks. I certainly am not one of those actors fully formed. It took many years for whatever I am now to develop. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You went to Juilliard, right?
Yeah.
You certainly got a lot of training there, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was there. I was part of the Group 18 year, which was 85 to 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to the beginning, actually, because this is an audience of SAG actors, I actually always like to ask, how did you get your SAG card? What was the first job that brought that magical card to you?
It was Reversal of Fortune.
Wow.
It was a film that Barbet Schroeder was directing, and it was 1990, I think. I think it was at 90. It could have been the fall of 89, because I worked in the park that summer after graduating from school. And that was when I got my Actors Equity card. And that was an incredible thrill for me to be in both of those shows. And then I had a real speaking part in a production of Titus Andronicus. And I was, over the moon. And then I got cast in a film. I guess I got cast in the fall, and perhaps I got my card in early 90, whatever the year was, but it was around then, and it was Reversal of Fortune with Jeremy Irons and Glenn Close and Ron Silver. But, just being in the presence of those people. And also there were a lot of, people I knew that were my age, because Ron Silver was playing Alan Dershowitz and his very, large team of students that he had working for him. So there was
and I believe your character's name was Bill. You actually started.
Oh, really? Maybe. I don't remember. I think possibly, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if
my character was working on another case. So myself and another guy were working on a case that Ron Dershowitz had, which I think is historically accurate, of two brothers, two twins. I think their names were the Thompson twins, and he was defending them. And I was actually working on that case and not the Klaus von Bülow case, which all of my friends were working on.
I actually rewatched that movie recently, and I just remember there was a time where I really liked Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, Ron Silver made him very likable, I think.
He really did. Great actor.
Yeah, amazing.
So that was your first time, actually in front of a camera?
No, I had done, I think I had done one or two NYU student films. I had a very good friend of mine from undergraduate. A couple of friends of mine from where I went to undergraduate were at NYU. One was in the dramatic writing program and one was in the film school. And in the graduate programs. And so I did some stuff there, but that was really, that was the first, real job. Yeah. That I got hired for and paid for in front of a camera. And then Law and Order happened, I think maybe in the spring or something. You may know the dates better than I do. I don't remember.
Wait, did you only do one Law and Order? Because most New York actors do at least 6 or 7.
No, I didn't. I haven't done 6 or 7. Let's see. I've never done the SVU. I did a Criminal Intent, and I did, I think, 2 or 3 of the regular Law and Orders when Sam was there.
Oh, were you ever the killer?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's a big honor,
Yes.
actually.
I was a guy who was hired. There was a murder that happened at Rayo's. The whole opening tease was a murder that happened at Rayo's, the Italian restaurant, very exclusive Italian restaurant up in northern Manhattan. And yeah, I was a guy who eventually got arrested, but I was really just a link to the person who was really responsible for the hit. But yeah, wore an orange jumpsuit and was up on the witness chair, trying to be all mean and scary and stuff. I remember sitting with my mom and dad actually and watching it, and feeling just like I wasn't sure how impressed my dad was watching his son play a murder in an orange jumpsuit. But it was yeah, it was a lot of fun, certainly, working with Sam, that whole crew.
One of my favorite things about going to see theater in New York is flipping through the bios and seeing all the Law and Order credits. They just get the best theater actors on their show consistently. Yeah,
well, all of us are there, right? So there's a very large, most of us are there. There's such a large pool, a real wealth of talent there.
So you've gone all the way from Law and Order, which is, most people's obsession, to the Queen's Gambit, which is currently everyone's obsession. People just love this series. I'm curious how the story, or maybe it was the script, found its way to you, and what were sort of your initial impressions of the story, and specifically Mr. Shable?
I was drawn to, I am drawn to characters like that. And Scott, of course, I'm a big fan of Scott's. And he sent me the script. And I read the script, and then I read the novella, and I was really, attracted right away to doing it. I had just finished doing something that was quite different, and it was over a long period of time, and I was eager to see what I could make of such a understated individual as Mr. Scheibel, and the relationship that was developed between he and young Beth. And so I was up for that challenge. I was really interested. It was a no-brainer for me, really.
I feel like you've worked with everyone, so forgive me for not knowing off the top of my head. Had you worked with Scott Frank before, or was this your first time?
No, I'd worked with, I know people that have worked with him, friends of mine that have worked with him, and people in the business that just speak so highly of him. And I saw Godless, and I just know that, his body of work, and people that have had the experience of working with him, and the collaborative kind of aspect, which is important, at least for me, with a director, that there be dialogue that I think one is really open to, and Scott is, and was it was that way from the moment go, from once we started to communicate about his character and how we saw it develop.
I mean, it's pretty impressive because he not only wrote all the episodes, but he directed all of them, which is kind of unusual when it comes to television these days.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point you make there, because that was something that came into my mind early on when I was considering it for 25 minutes or a half hour, because like I said, it was pretty much a no-brainer. But that was something that was really attractive to me, was that I knew he was going to be in it, from the beginning, obviously, like way before any of us showed up. But when I showed up, he was also going to be carrying it all the way through. So his vision was going to be really unfettered. It was going to be pure, and how it was going to be made was not going to have a lot of different perspectives or viewpoints or fingers in the pie. Does that make sense? So there weren't going to be a lot of chefs. And so I think I've had that experience with The Night Of with Steve Zalian, where Steve directed all of them but one. And I think that was either 3 or 4, somewhere in the middle. But Steve was there all the time. And for me, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily, I don't know what the norm is, but I think a lot of shows that get made even on cable, definitely a network, it's just there's a rotation, they're enlisting a lot of different directors because there's so much talent, but it requires a lot of rigor and a lot of commitment and a lot of creative fuel to do something like 8, 9, 10 episodes as the person at the helm. And I really respect that. And there's something that's attractive to me working with someone like that. So that is something I did consider.
Although Mr. Scheibel really only appears prominently in the first episode, and I'm kind of curious, did you read all the scripts? Did you know where the story was going? Because the last time we spoke, I remember everyone is so outraged that Beth never paid him back the $10.
No, it's so interesting. It's so interesting that I even saw a piece of, somebody sent me this recently, a piece of fan art, I guess. People post like drawings and stuff they really like or something. There was a picture of Scheibel with the money in his pocket. She like put it, it's old Beth, it's like her. It's Anya in that beautiful white, cap and jacket, and she's putting the money in his pocket. Sort of,
I love that.
The basement guy getting his $5, but that's the whole thing. I'm not really sure. I did know what happened. They weren't, stingy with scripts with me, because I do want, even if I'm not in, if it's possible for me to be able to read the whole thing. That's interesting to me. I like stories. So I'm not one of those actors where it's like, I only want to know like that, but because I like the stories and where everything sort of the whole landscape of it, even, it doesn't have to apply to what I do. It never really bothered me that it didn't stick out for me, even watching it, and as it developed, and I my wife and I were super into it when we were watching it. It still didn't bother me, but I guess because I had participated in the story in a different way already, I had forgiven her long ago. I even knowing that she asked for that money and looking at the letter, while they were making that letter that is on the the sort of fan board of fame that he makes for her in the basement over the years, and the letters she's written. Looking at that letter, you know, I still didn't, like, on the set as they were making it, you know, it didn't bother me. I don't know why. It didn't seem like it mattered to him that much that she did.
Clearly
he didn't expect it. He didn't expect it. I
Mhm.
suppose if she had, you know, he would have been willing to send it back if she needed it, but, you know, no.
Yeah, we see it.
Grateful she asked him.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, clearly doesn't bother him because, you know, he still is so proud of her accomplishments. And it's, you know, it's one of the best moments in the series when she sees sort of the little, you know, commemorative wall that he's given her. It's really beautiful. I'm just curious, as an actor, you know, you're not on camera for that bit. What's it like when you finally see the completed product? Were you as moved as the rest of us?
Yeah, I was really moved. And I had seen the board.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. But that's testimony to how brilliant Anya is.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's endowing that board with, you know, we're investing in her and we're investing in that character. And we know this past history, but really, you know, it's because of her that I felt moved.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
she's wandering in that basement and then she finds it. It's really because of her, you know.
What's interesting is you don't actually share scenes with Anya. Your primary scene partner is, I don't know if it's Isla or Isla Johnston. Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah, no, she's really, you know, she's something. She's so poised and so focused and so at the same time, you know, in no way rigid, you know, or nervous or overcome by or overwhelmed by the whole deal, which that world can be like, you know. She lays the foundation, you know, that kind of sort of inner ferocity that she has. And at the same time, she's a smart, intelligent actor, and she really pays attention, and that's, you know, she listens and pays attention and has a very solid foundation as to where she thinks she's coming from. And she trusts herself too. So, yeah, Anya and I had one brief encounter and that was the day she leaves.
In the car.
And yeah. And then he goes, really, and we're actually following her.
Once you signed on for the role, how did you go about preparing to play the character? Do you know anything about chess, or is that just good acting?
I had played chess as a little boy. I recently got an email from a classmate from third grade who remembered playing chess with me and two other classmates and being taught by a fourth grade teacher who the next year became our fourth grade teacher. And so we had a little gang that we played in third and fourth grade, and then it sort of dissipated a little bit in fifth grade, and then I think we moved on to other things. But yeah, I did play chess as a very young primary school student, and then I did not play chess except for maybe the odd game, you know, every 3 years or so with somebody at a dinner party or someplace, or just my brother-in-law loves to play, so once in a while we'd play. But then my son started to play when he was in primary school, and I bought a board. I used to watch a lot of chess when I was at Juilliard in those years in the 80s and 90s. I would ride the subway from Christopher Street, Sheridan Square stop, which is a one train that would go up to 66th Street in Lincoln Center. So I lived, though, very east and very downtown, in an area called Alphabet City. And so I would walk from Avenue B all the way over to West to my subway stop, where I would go to school and then come back, do the reverse. It was a deer path I had. And through that, I'd go through Washington Square Park, or I'd veer off on 3rd Street and cross by Thompson Street, which is right in the heart of Greenwich Village. And of course, there's a lot of chess played outdoors, competitively, and speed chess and hustling and everything in Washington Square Park, outdoor, because they have permanent tables there made of granite. And then on Thompson Street in the West Village, there are, I think, at least back then, there were 2-3 shops that were like chess stores / clubs. And you could stand at the window and watch these individuals play, really at all hours. And I used to do that because I had a classmate who at Juilliard who lived on Thompson Street as well. And so I was around there and I watched a lot. I never went into play. And then when my son started to play, I went into one of those shops remaining and bought a really nice board because I wanted to. And then, I played some, and then, I knew what I was doing, I guess, to answer your question. And of course, Bruce Pandolfini taught me everything that I needed to know for the sequences we had to do that Steve was shooting.
Oh, was he like a chess expert or on set for you?
He was our consultant, at least when I was there in Berlin. All the games that I played with Isla, and they were all sequences that were all set up, that we knew what we were doing. But I knew these openings because I had spent some time with him in New York before going to Berlin in his house. He's a teacher to the masters. He's written like 30 or 40 books on chess. And so that was a huge privilege for me, just to go and sit and listen to him tell stories and sit across the board from him in his kitchen.
I think one of the coolest things about being an actor is you get to learn all sorts of things, for that special skills section of your resume. I would love to see you go back to Washington Square Park and play some of these people now.
I don't think I'd be that bold. I think I would rather just observe. I don't think I'd stand a chance against anybody there. They're all really good, really practiced. I can beat my son, and I can probably hold my own against my brother-in-law, but I don't know if I would want to go there. That would be over very quickly, I think. I like to watch them play too. But it's such a great point that it is a real gift. One of the benefits of being an actor is just the research one gets to do in the stuff, either in any of the genres. I find it fascinating to learn about periods of history and skills, and doing that kind of research is great to learn from.
You mentioned Mr. Scheibel is a very interior, kind of subtle character, and there can be a lot of challenges in playing something like that. What did end up being the biggest challenge making the series, tapping into this character, maybe just a specific scene?
I trusted Scott in that what we wanted to communicate, because it's so much about containment, because there was so little dialogue from him. So much of it had to do with his eyes and how he seemed to be relating to her and what he was just thinking, And so as long as Scott felt I was in that pocket, I was in that place, and he can hear it in my voice and he can see it in my eyes. And as long as that stayed consistent and seemed to be there, and I knew how to access it and where to go to be that guy, it was not really, I guess it was not a challenge. It was just sort of being, then it's not work. It's just, it's like, it's just sort of being there with that person and trusting that, because I trusted Isla, as I said, and I was trusting Scott. And so that's ideal. And then it, like I said, it's not really work, it's fun. And if they need to do it again for whatever reasons, then certain adjustments are made. I think if I was to identify any challenge with that guy, would be on the other side of that coin. There's one period where he invites the guy from the school, right? That then takes her to play his whole team at once. And he's a guy that Scheibel plays with at the club, his own private, chess club that he goes to. And that guy brings a doll. Remember, he brings a doll for her. Mm-hmm. And Scheibel is standing off to the side, watching them play. And there was, I was really holding back, like this, thinking this was an opportunity where we could be more expressive with him, and he could be, maybe not be so close to the cuff a little. And there's one tiny little moment where he nods to her. She looks at him like, what do I do with this thing? After the guy gives, her the doll. And the last thing she wants is a doll. I think it goes in the garbage or something. But, it was really a question as to how light and how, sort of easy or excited do I make him, and not going too far, And yeah. I think he smiles just a little bit there too. I think there's a slight smile, because he's amazingly proud too of her, I mean, he's astonished at her talent, and he's so proud of her and excited for her, so that was a time where the door was starting to open, where the rest of the world was going to find out about her, and he knew it, and he knew that was coming. And for that brief little bit, I think there's something really exciting and happy and joyous for him. But that was like, how far do we go with that? We can't go that far with it. So.
Ever since the show premiered on Netflix, it was an instant hit out of the gate. I remember everyone talking about it that weekend. And I'm curious if you have any theories as to why people have responded so strongly to the show, but specifically this character.
Oh my, I don't know. I really don't know. I think, a lot smarter people than me can maybe address that one. There's, obvious reasons. There was what was going on in the world in terms of our isolation, in terms of people really having to be with themselves or with the people around them that they weren't used to spending all of that time with, or the need to spend time alone, suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, I need to go off and I need to be by myself for a little while, and taking that for granted in the past, maybe, I don't know. And here's a guy who is essentially alone amongst all of these other alone people, orphans, you know, and that he had something that he was able to give away to be of service to somebody, to be of service to somebody that really had nothing. And he was able to give that gift of whatever it was, or at least light that fuse with her and get her to realize in herself, you know, the opportunity that her life had, or that she was going to have. And also, he was giving her a friend in a way, you know, he was giving her a companion for her life by allowing her to explore and investigate and be curious and be stimulated by and expound and just like create a giant landscape for herself in this game, this, you know, what's called a game, although others think it's more than a game, you know, and it's a, you know, I don't know, there are so many different things, you know, we were put in this position with this pandemic that, you know, it has felt like war at some times, and it's felt like a real challenge in order to keep one's steadfastness, you know, going, and a distilling of things that suddenly are clear are really the important things. And I think this guy had, you know, had made his life, what was important to him was what he did. And he played chess, and he intellectually and all, you know, stimulated in so many ways by that game itself, and the many possibilities and the strategies and that go into just that, where, you know, he's fine playing by himself, you know, he doesn't need to have a partner. And then also to do his job, you know, he had a task every day, which was to go to work. And we don't see him missing work. We don't see him, you know, he seems pretty steady. And he simplified his life in such that he was able to, you know, keep going forward and be well enough to be able to, and open-minded enough to be able to then give this, you know, he doesn't, he does invite her in. She's pretty, you know, nudgy, but he does invite her in. He invites her in and is willing. He shows that willingness to like say, okay, let's go. And then, you know, when it unfolds, but he does, you know, an amazingly generous thing. And I think people saw that in that guy.
He also never asks her for anything, unlike even her mother, who, you know, asks for a percentage of the winnings, which is why I actually think it's important that she doesn't pay him back and he doesn't care. You know, it's such an unconditional giving support that I don't know that she has anywhere else in the series. And it's just such a wonderful character. And I want to remind everyone, actually, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen the series, but if you haven't, all the episodes are available on Netflix. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations on the very well-deserved nomination.
Thanks, Jenelle. Thanks. It's a real pleasure to see you again.